At 82, Robert De Niro, one of Hollywood's last true legends, breaks his silence. For decades, he's been known as the man of few words, the master of restraint both on and off screen. But now, at this stage in his life, De Niro no longer holds back. In a rare and brutally honest interview, he finally names the 5 stars he despises the most. Was it old grudges? Betrayals behind the scenes? Or something much deeper, wounds that fame could never heal? Insiders claim this list isn't about jealousy or ego, but about loyalty, respect, and broken trust. And with that, we come to his list. 5 names, 5 stories darker than anyone imagined. Now it gets serious. Here are the 5 stars Robert De Niro despises the most. Number 5, Mickey Rourke. It began with admiration and ended with disgust. Robert De Niro once saw Mickey Rourke as a promising young rebel, a man who reminded him of his own early fire. But things changed fast. On the set of Angel Heart in 1987, tension grew between the 2 actors. Rourke, still hungry for recognition, accused De Niro of arrogance, claiming he refused to speak to him outside their scenes. Years later, Rourke would reignite the feud. In interviews, he mocked De Niro publicly, calling him a crybaby and a nobody anymore. Insiders say De Niro was stunned. The man he once encouraged had turned his respect into venom. Witnesses from The Irishman production revealed that when Rourke begged for a role, De Niro personally refused, saying, "I don't want that man near my set." It wasn't pride, it was principle. What was once professional rivalry became deep contempt. De Niro, known for his patience, never responded in the press. But those close to him say he was furious, not because of the insults, but because of the betrayal. He had offered guidance and in return received ridicule. That's why Mickey Rourke takes spot number 5 on De Niro's list. A reminder that sometimes the people you help most are the ones who strike hardest when the lights go out. Number 4, Alec Baldwin. On screen, they were supposed to be equals, 2 New York icons, men of the same generation, both sharp, intense, and uncompromising. Off-screen, they were fire and gasoline. It started with a clash of egos during an award season gala in the early 2000s. According to insiders, Alec Baldwin made a joke about De Niro's tough guy act, implying that his method acting had become outdated. De Niro didn't laugh. He simply turned, stared at Baldwin, and said quietly, "You're talking too much." From that moment, it was war. Their tension deepened years later when Baldwin publicly criticized De Niro's performance choices, calling him lazy in his later years. For De Niro, a man who spent decades perfecting his craft, that comment cut deep. Producers who worked with both actors say De Niro refused to attend events if Baldwin was present. He never forgave the humiliation. Behind closed doors, witnesses described De Niro's anger as cold and quiet. "He doesn't explode," one friend said. "He just erases you." Baldwin, ever the provocateur, kept stoking the flames, mocking De Niro's age, his political speeches, his private life. What he didn't realize was that he had already burned the last bridge. For De Niro, respect is everything. And when Baldwin crossed that invisible line, there was no way back. That's why Alec Baldwin stands at number 4 on the list, a symbol of arrogance, betrayal, and the moment when one legend lost all respect for another. Number 3, Sean Penn. They were once allies, 2 method actors who defined a generation of American cinema. But what began as mutual respect turned into one of Hollywood's most bitter Cold Wars. Robert De Niro first met Sean Penn in the late 80s, when both were hailed as heirs to Brando's legacy. They admired each other's intensity, their devotion to truth on screen. But with time, Penn's temper and unpredictability began to wear on De Niro. He confuses chaos with art. An insider recalled De Niro saying, after one collaboration that never made it past pre-production. Things reached a breaking point during a charity gala in Los Angeles. Penn, known for his confrontational nature, reportedly mocked De Niro's political speeches, calling them performances, not convictions. The insult was public and devastating. Witnesses say De Niro left the event without a word, his face pale with fury. Behind the scenes, the tension deepened. De Niro quietly refused to consider Penn for any project connected to his production company. He viewed Penn as unstable, dangerous to trust, impossible to predict. And when Penn's private scandals dominated the tabloids, De Niro's silence spoke louder than any statement. "Once you cross him, you're gone," one longtime associate said. And Penn crossed him in front of the world. For De Niro, loyalty is sacred. Sean Penn shattered it. That's why he stands at number 3. A fallen brother from the same artistic bloodline, now erased from De Niro's respect forever. Number 2, Harvey Keitel. This one hurts the most. Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel weren't just co-stars, they were brothers in arms. From Mean Streets to Taxi Driver, they built the gritty New York realism that redefined cinema. They shared dreams, struggles, and the kind of loyalty only street-born survivors understand. But even legends can fracture. The fallout began quietly. Sources close to both men said it started over The Irishman. Keitel expected a more significant role, a gesture of respect after decades of friendship. But when the final script came, his part was small, almost symbolic. Keitel felt humiliated. He never said it outright, but insiders noticed his tone when he spoke about the project, distant, bitter. Then came the interviews. Keitel hinted that De Niro had changed, that fame had built a wall around him. To De Niro, that was betrayal. He had always protected Keitel, championed him when others forgot his name. "That's not how you talk about family," one insider quoted De Niro saying. The two stopped speaking. No public fight, no open statement, just silence, heavy and final. At industry events, they avoided eye contact. Friends who tried to reconcile them gave up. "It's over," one producer said. "De Niro doesn't forgive." For De Niro, loyalty is not a contract. It's sacred. And when Harvey Keitel broke that bond, something inside him hardened forever. That's why Keitel takes number 2. Not out of hate, but out of heartbreak. Number 1, Al Pacino. For half a century, they were the twin pillars of American cinema, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. 2 titans, 2 styles, 1 legacy. Together, they defined entire eras, from Heat to The Irishman. Their bond seemed unbreakable, mutual respect, artistic brotherhood, even friendship. But fame, ego, and time have a cruel way of testing legends. The first cracks appeared during the Irishman press tour. Insiders claim Pacino, always the showman, began to dominate interviews, interrupting De Niro, turning shared moments into one-man monologues. At first, De Niro laughed it off, but beneath the calm, frustration brewed. "He's not listening anymore," De Niro reportedly told a close friend. Then came the betrayal. A longtime associate leaked that Pacino had privately criticized De Niro's directing on A Bronx Tale, calling it cold and lifeless. When De Niro heard, he was silent for days. From him, That's the one voice I thought I could trust, an insider quoted him saying. At an awards gala in 2022, witnesses say De Niro deliberately skipped Pacino's tribute speech, a quiet act of final distance. Those who saw his expression that night described it as stone. No anger, just disappointment too deep for words. Between them now lies a silence as vast as their shared legacy. Two men who shaped generations, now estranged by pride and time. That's why Al Pacino stands at number one, the hardest name for De Niro to say, the deepest wound he never wanted to reveal. Just when everyone thought the list was over, an insider close to De Niro revealed something no one expected. This list, the one filled with anger, regret, and betrayal, wasn't meant for the public. It was written privately, in a notebook found in De Niro's office, labeled only, "People I Once Trusted." The revelation sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Those who read excerpts said it wasn't hate that filled the pages, but grief. Between the names, Rourke, Baldwin, Penn, Catel, Pacino, were handwritten notes. Could have been brothers. Loyalty matters. Silence hurts more than lies. A source claimed the notebook surfaced only after a close friend urged De Niro to face his past, to speak, to let go. And that's exactly what he did. His 5 stars were never enemies in the traditional sense. They were reflections, mirrors of a man who gave too much to an industry that gives nothing back. In the end, the real confession wasn't about who he despised. It was about who he once loved. Today, Robert De Niro stands alone. Not in bitterness, but in quiet understanding. 82 years, 2 Oscars, and a lifetime of stories later. He's learned that fame doesn't protect you from betrayal. It only makes the silence louder. The people he once called brothers became ghosts of another era, faces frozen in photographs of better times. Those close to him say he's found peace, not through reconciliation, but through acceptance. He no longer seeks apologies or explanations. "Time tells the truth," he once said in a rare interview. "You just have to live long enough to hear it." Now, when asked about old friendships, De Niro smiles faintly and changes the subject. There's no need for revenge, no fire left to burn. Only memory, sharp, unflinching, but finely quiet. It's a reminder that even the greatest legends bleed behind their silence, and that sometimes the strongest act a man can make is to finally let go.